Since the birth of the Tavistock Clinic a century ago, a number of institutions have been part of the wider Tavistock family. These have included the Tavistock Institute of Human Relations, the Tavistock Institute of Medical Psychology, the Tavistock Career and Education Consultation Service, and Tavistock Relationships. At the time of the 50th anniversary of the Tavistock, the eminent psychiatrist Henry Dix wrote of its corporate identity, within which separate constituent organisations are not only preserved, but positively valued. One of these siblings, Tavistock Relationships, was originally formed as a family discussion bureau in 1948. Tavistock Relationships has specialised in developing the psychoanalytic understanding of the couple relationship. So it's somehow fitting that it began its life as the metaphorical child of a couple, Enid and Michael Barlint, both of whom understood the difficulty of couple relationships, both having entered their second marriage. Tavistock Relationships has, since its inception, been a sister organisation to the Tavistock Clinic. The two have shared a history of personal and professional links and a common approach of rigorous grounding in clinical work as a basis for research, training, and the application of analytic thinking to a wide range of human difficulties. Each has shared a mission to reach people and touch areas of human experience that have not before had the benefit of analytic understanding. With its focus on developmental challenges and possibilities throughout the lifespan, this distinctive Tavistock approach has always been at the core of the work of Tavistock Relationships. Perhaps the primary foundational element of this way of thinking was the social policy context and the Denning Report of 1947. Lord Denning said, "There should be a marriage welfare service sponsored by the state, but not a state institution, a function of the state. Marriage guidance as a form of social service." This opened the gates to state sponsorship of psychotherapeutic work with couples and allowed the organisation to dedicate itself to social welfare while operating outside the formal structures of the welfare state. In its initial incarnation as the Family Discussion Bureau, the organisation was the first non-medical channel in Britain for professional work with families. Though the Tavistock Clinic joined the new National Health Service when this was launched, the FDB stayed as an independent organisation. However, the structured relationship goes back further than that. Since 1979, Tavistock Relationships has been an operating arm of the Tavistock Institute of Medical Psychology, the charitable organisation that was the first pre-NHS home of the Tavistock Clinic when the latter began in 1920. You can still see a foundation plaque in the entrance to Tavistock Relationships in Hallam Street today. After the Second World War, Britain faced immense challenges in bringing society back together. Separation, loss and displacement all placed their toll on families. Many fathers were traumatised by their experiences on the battlefield, and civilians were recovering from the stress of bombings, loss of homes, rationing, and many other hardships in their day-to-day lives. It was a time of great upheaval and change. During the war years, women on the home front had stepped into what were traditionally male occupations, and society had seen rapid change, sometimes at great emotional cost. This created a great need for an organisation that could address these factors and help foster stability. To this end, in 1946, the Family Discussion Bureau was established by Enid Eichholtz, who'd been working for the Family Welfare Association in London. Initially, volunteers offered basic talking therapy to couples in distress. However, Eichholtz felt that assistance from senior mental health professionals could enhance the offering of the service. For this pioneering work, she turned to Dr. Tommy Wilson, a psychiatrist at the Tavistock Clinic in London, who after the war specialised in the resettlement of British soldiers. Wilson advocated for Eichholtz's project with colleagues at the Tavistock Clinic. Notable figures who gave support, encouragement, and clinical supervision in this endeavour included Dr. John Bowlby and Miss Noel Honeybun, as well as Dr. Michael Barlint. In 1953, Enid Eichholtz married Michael Barlint. Both were divorcees. Lily Pincus, a Jewish emigrant from Germany, became the director of the Family Discussion Bureau, which eventually relocated to the Tavistock Clinic itself. Later, Dr. Jock Sutherland became the medical director of the Tavistock Clinic and worked closely with Pincus, championing the development of marital therapy. And in 1955, Pincus, keen to publish colleagues' experiences of couple psychotherapy, oversaw the publication of the Family Discussion Bureau's first book, Social Casework in Marital Problems, the Development of a Psychodynamic Approach. The organisation went from strength to strength. In addition to providing a clinical service, it began developing professional training, a research arm, and a series of publications. Since these early days, Tavistock Relationships has produced more than 700 publications, which have influenced globally the development of couple and family mental health practices. 1963 saw the succession of the next staff chair, Douglas Woodhouse, and in 1968 the Family Discussion Bureau changed its name to the Institute of Marital Studies to reflect its status as a practice-informed training and research body. Woodhouse remained in tenure till he retired in 1980. During the 1960s, training activities increased further, and the IMS located itself in the same premises as the Tavistock Clinic in Belsize Lane. Intern fellowships were created for experienced practitioners working in other agencies, with extramural training provided for organisations such as the Probation Service and the National Marriage Guidance Council, now Relate. In the 1970s, the IMS expanded its focus into further areas, including the functioning of couples with learning disability, brief work with marital problems, specific illnesses in children, and the dynamics of supervisory relationships. The Institute also began several research projects investigating work with couple relationships in a group of social services clients and developing a preventive intervention programme for couples expecting their first child. For the 7 years from 1980 to 1987, Janet Mattinson led as chair of the IMS. Her tenure saw another period of great transition. In response to a need for less antagonistic proceedings within the process of divorce, the Institute explored the feasibility of mediating between parents whose disputes had resulted in court-ordered welfare reports. During the decade, as unemployment rose, the Institute undertook a study of the meaning of work and loss of employment on marriage. Telephone helplines and interagency collaboration also became topics of research. At the end of the decade, the IMS published papers from its 40th conference celebration, and Tavistock was added to the title to highlight a specific approach to marital studies. A key development for the IMS was the founding of the first couple psychoanalytic psychotherapy training in the UK and the formation of a professional association for its graduates. Through this period, there was a push towards the registration of psychotherapists. IMS staff played an important part in the discussions around this initiative, which consequently led to the establishment of the British Confederation of Psychotherapists, that later became the British Psychoanalytic Council. In parallel with the changes in the social and therapeutic environments, the staff title was revised from the psychodynamic social work term caseworker to marital therapist, a title that was to be succeeded by couple psychoanalytic psychotherapist in the 1990s. The theoretical underpinning of psychoanalytically informed couple psychotherapy had a major change of focus during the 1990s. This post-Kleinian perspective on the internal world of the couple can be observed through major works of the period which provided a strong conceptual framework and methodology for training therapists in the field. By the end of the decade, a validation agreement was struck with the University of East London, which allowed the IMS to offer academic degrees at certificate, diploma, MA and professional doctorate levels. Funders were keen to see evidence of the effectiveness of psychotherapy. The IMS decided to pursue two evidence-based approaches from developmental psychology, with support from the adult department of the Tavistock Clinic and colleagues in the US. The first was based on attachment theory, the second on Kleinian theory. During this period, the collegiate exchange in the Tavistock Centre was also mirrored by social collaborations among staff, with events such as the Tavistock Pantomimes. Multidisciplinary training around divorce and separation came to the fore in the context of the 1995 Family Law Act. Important work also included the impact of fertility problems, the effects of the death of a child on couples, sexuality in later life, and issues relating to cross-cultural marriages. Training the trainers consultative programmes for frontline mental health and social care were developed with considerable investment too, and these carried on into the new millennium. In 2004, the organisation changed its name to the Tavistock Centre for Couple Relationships to better reflect society's diverse forms of partnership. In the same year, when London marriage guidance went into administration, the Tavistock Centre for Couple Relationships made the decision to absorb its clinical and training services, resulting in services being offered from 2 sites in London rather than 1, mainly due to the increased size of the organisation. In 2006, Susanna Absey became Chief Executive, steering significant growth and reach of operations. With Absey at the helm, 2009 saw a significant move for the centre. Leaving the 3rd floor of the Tavistock Clinic building to occupy its own Warren Street premises created the conditions for rapid expansion in the decade that followed. A greater strategic emphasis was placed on influencing public policy. One key objective was raising awareness of the growing research base linking the quality of the parental couple relationship to children's development. This work would highlight to funders the importance of intervention with parental couples to improve child and family outcomes. Clinical research had long been a mainstay for the institution's guiding principles, with innovative research projects in the 1980s, 1990s and earlier. Building on this, the new millennium saw the pursuit of more formal outcome research and the introduction of regular research seminars. This activity assisted in developing new projects and supported the organisation's academic training programmes. 2 studies in particular heralded this new approach of quantitative outcome research. One adapting a psychoanalytic measure developed in the Tavistock Clinic to look at the effectiveness of psychoanalytic work with couples. The other evaluating a couple-oriented parenting support programme in partnership with a mental health agency. The decision was taken to conduct a randomised controlled trial to evaluate an intervention for parents experiencing high post-separation conflict. Concurrently, a long-standing relationship with 2 academic and clinical psychologists, Professors Philip Cowan and Carolyn Pape Cowan, brought new opportunities. The Cowans had developed couple-focused programmes showing good outcomes for children in the US, and subsequently the government funded Tavistock Relationships to trial their approach in the UK. This resulted in the successful delivery of the intervention to more than 500 couples over a period of 5 years. This work was shown to improve couple relationships, parental mental health, and children's well-being, as well as reducing couple conflict. In 2016, Andrew Balfour became Chief Executive, and during the same year, Tavistock Relationships performed the largest naturalistic study of couple psychotherapy outcomes ever undertaken worldwide. It involved an analysis of outcome data gathered from more than 850 patients seen in psychoanalytic clinical services. The effects on both mental health and relationship quality were shown to be significant. Tavistock Relationships has continued to build on its mission, looking to develop new interventions directed at key social problems. These have been firmly based in psychoanalytic thinking and constructed in order to garner support from commissioners and policymakers. This work has included services for couples in high-conflict divorce, separated parents in entrenched post-separation conflict over contact arrangements with their children, couples living with dementia, couples in conflict around parenting, couple therapy for depression, developed as part of the NHS Improving Access to Psychological Therapies programme, couples facing retirement, adoptive couples, and parental couples where there has been domestic violence. Following on from these interventions, Tavistock Relationships has taken a lead role in training staff and delivering clinical work as part of reducing parental conflict programmes being rolled out nationally by the Department for Work and Pensions. It's been working in partnership with an Inner London local authority to develop psychotherapeutic work in the context of learning disability and mental health. Another important area of work is the development of a new approach to working with interparental conflict in the context of alcohol dependence, funded by the Department of Health and Social Care. All these projects have taken place within a research framework designed to enable rigorous evaluation and support their longer-term development. Throughout its history, clinical services have remained at the heart of Tavistock Relationships' work and have informed the founding and development of its groundbreaking and wide-ranging programmes. The volume of clinical work undertaken has grown considerably, and today the organisation delivers more than 20,000 psychotherapy sessions per year. It also offers psychoanalytic, psychodynamic, and psychosexual professional clinical qualification trainings at postgraduate level, as well as certificate level and foundation courses, and a CPD programme addressing current issues in the field. The significant rise of the organisation's international influence has been reflected over the years in its trainings, lectures, and joint working around the globe in Australia, China, the US, and Europe. Its popular summer schools attract a diverse blend of international clinicians. In 2018, Tavistock Relationships held its 70th anniversary conference. At the event, it launched both a book celebrating the range of its innovative work and Mary Morgan's landmark text on the theory and technique of couple psychoanalysis. Coming back to the place of its roots, in 2019 the organisation moved once more to Hallam Street, a few doors away from the site that in the 1950s and early 1960s housed the Family Discussion Bureau, the Tavistock Institute of Human Relations, the Tavistock Clinic's Adolescent Department and its library. Throughout the decades, it has never forgotten these roots. The essence of its early approach, holding in focus both the internal psychic life and external social problems, and addressing these in distinctive ways, is still very much alive today as it was in 1948. Despite having established a new physical presence in central London, in 2020 the organisation reacted rapidly to the changes faced by couples and families during the COVID-19 lockdown. It expanded its digital offering at a time when travel and even face-to-face clinical interaction were not possible. With great speed, the whole clinical service and much of the training services were fully operational and were adapted to meet the demand that still existed for couples to get help and trainees to receive online tuition. Although the balance of clinical work, research and training has varied at different times in the history of Tavistock Relationships, they have remained inextricably linked throughout. This blend of key elements is what Henry Dix called the internal matrix of the total Tavistock organisation. It is this which most clearly identifies Tavistock Relationships as part of the Tavistock family, maintaining this distinctive blend of practice, training, research and innovation from its inception and through the generations. It is this which will no doubt provide the creative platform and cohesive approach needed to ensure success in the organisation's future endeavours.